Tyson Hendrickson has revolutionized private markets by providing much needed granular data on these markets, which are traditionally dark. Compared to public markets, if you want to look up the price for, let's say, SpaceX stock, there's no place where you can do that like you could for Apple, IBM, or any of the other thousands of companies which are publicly traded. So he founded Notice.co, which is a free service that provides both investors and sellers with valuable insights on private markets data. This has been a game changer for the market. Notice represents real paradigm shift and a technological leap for late-stage secondary markets. He tracks over 1,100 companies on the platform and expects this market will continue to grow. By being a data provider, he has unique insights into the market because he's interacting with some of the most significant counterparties that report this data, which includes banks, broker-dealers, individual shareholders, investors, and other market participants, such as the issuers themselves. We sat down with Tyson for Intelligence Storm. Let's see what he had to say. Hello, Tyson Hendrickson. Welcome to Intelligence Storm.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks.
Can you tell us and our audience a little bit about yourself and the history of how you got to where you are now?
Sure. Wow. So my name is Tyson Hendrickson. I'm currently the CEO and founder of Notice.co, which is a private markets financial data product. Before that, I was a broker like you are right now in the private placements business. And I took a weird path, did some humanitarian work in East Africa for 5 years. And before that, consulting and startup companies and just kind of been all over the map. So it has not been a straight line, that's for sure. But I think that the one thing that I think is consistent is just wanting to pursue new things and new ideas and kind of just be curious and keep learning all that I can about whatever it happens to be interesting at that time. That's been the only thing consistent. Everything else has been kind of a wild ride. So.
Cool. So where did you get the idea for Notice, or what motivated you to come to this point that you created it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think, as I mentioned, I was a private placement rep for a few years. I got into that because when I came back from Africa, I was super tired and just like, it's just exhausting work over there. And some of my friends had co-founded really big companies like Palantir and these types of things. And they were kind of complaining about their experience in the secondary markets. And so, they encouraged me to help them. And I knew nothing at the time, but they trusted me and I helped them. And anyway, I helped them and some other folks, and just kind of seemed like the employees I was helping and the founders just didn't really know a lot about the market. They didn't know what was happening, where pricing was, and a lot of other things about the market. And so I just kind of assumed it was an employee problem. But then I got fortunate enough to be kind of referred to some other really, really large investment groups and some of the biggest in the world. And in talking with them, like they also didn't know what was going on. And some of them were on board seats in these companies and they had information rights and they just had no idea. It's a huge disconnect between what they knew and then what was actually happening in the market. And so I started to notice because I wanted to build I wanted to defragment the market. It's so fragmented right now. There's tons of information kind of scattered around. There are no dominant marketplaces that have more than half the volume or anywhere close to that. And so started Notice to try and aggregate that data by aligning people's interests with the goal of educating the market and helping everyone figure out, what their stock is worth and if they can sell it, and if they can, who they should talk to do that. That was really just the goal. Try and automate a lot of the stuff that I was doing manually as a broker, and to do it better than I could as a broker. Honestly, that was the goal.
It's a little bit similar to my story. I was a quantitative trader for 20 years, and I was going to open a bank because what happened, I got regulated out of a job in 2012 with Dodd-Frank, and they basically, it was like monopolies just crushing everyone else. And we were going to open a bank, and my friend, who's a securities attorney, told me about unicorns, and we tried to buy SpaceX, and it was so complicated and convoluted. And there's so many
Yeah.
just layers of confusion. We thought, well, there's got to be a business here because, these are great companies, but yet the secondary market is like it's not even a market. It's just, I don't know what you call it at that time, and
It's the Wild West.
it was just the Wild West. So yeah,
Yeah.
you've done a great job with Notice.
Thanks.
It's kind of unique in its. I mean, like the traditional data services don't really cover this market for whatever reason. So I know it's valuable to a lot of people. So do you see like, what do you see like the private market from a, because you're in the middle of a lot of different players. What do you see that, how will this market evolve in like 5, 10 years?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, uh, there's certainly a camp that thinks that the private markets will start to look a lot more like the public markets, where you have like front end settlement and trades will happen more frequently and with less friction because technology. Not a huge. I don't know that I mean, maybe in 10 years, but I don't see that happening very soon. I know there are some great companies trying to build technology to enable that, but I just think that when the issuer is involved, it makes that really hard. Um, a lot of them don't want these things to happen that often, and it's a very manual process. So that's one camp. Another camp kind of sees things go on peer to peer. So buyers and sellers talk to each other and they figure it out, and then they just do it themselves. I think that could happen in certain cases, but that's only with really experienced people that have done a lot of these transactions and know how it works, are comfortable accepting those risks. And then, of course, you've got the technology platforms like Link2, which I saw is just going to go public via SPAC, where they're going to allow people to buy and sell SPV interests that they have so that you don't have to go through the company. So maybe some of that for the retail side. I don't know. My view is that like the kind of institutional side of this space and like I would say the mid-market and larger is currently looks a lot more like real estate than the public markets. And I think it's going to look like that for a lot longer just
Yeah.
because of the nature of the transactions. And so that's kind of my personal view, but I guess time will tell. It's definitely evolving and there's a lot of interest in the space. 2021 was a high and then the last couple of years have been a big reset, we'll kind of see where it goes from here, but there's certainly no shortage of people trying new things. That's for sure. So I'm confident something will work and it will look very different in a couple of years than it does now, I'm sure.
What are some key metrics you can give us about Notice for people that don't know it? Like how many users do you have or something,
Sure.
or how, like growth numbers or something that people, because anybody can go to the
Sure.
site, but like what's
Mm-hmm.
some benchmarks that you could give us?
Yeah. So, as I said before, we really want to help people figure out what's going on in the market and then also figure out what's happening in specific companies that they care about. And so the first thing I would say is that the important thing is when you want to help make sure that everyone knows what's going on, it includes everyone, even people who can't afford to pay $25,000 a year or whatever these other data services cost. And so, we have a freemium plan. You can use these tools for free, get some limited information, claim, if you have an employee, you can claim real-time pricing for one company for free, so you can track what's going on right now and really know what's going on. And then we have paid plans from there. But I think, so for us, like the target for us is like, how many companies are we covering? And, how much trade volume are we collecting and how much kind of reference data are we collecting to give us higher resolution understanding of pricing? So how well are we collecting data? And then the second piece is like, how many people are consuming this data, and how many people are we helping? And, we're pricing 1,100 companies in real time right now. Some of those have varying levels of private market activity. Of course, and I know 1,100 companies don't trade every day. Sometimes there's sporadic liquidity in some of the names. Some of the names are very active, like SpaceX. So we have 1,100 companies we're pricing in real time. We've collected just shy of $1 billion of verified trade volume in the last 12 months, which is pretty good from our partners that report that data in and we verify. But the big thing is just the number of users that are using it. So 6 months ago we had like 2,000 monthly uniques, and now we have 190,000 monthly uniques. So, it's been a huge spike in utilization of the data, which I think is kind of it's something we want to focus on, because if we're providing that value, I think it's word of mouth, people telling each other about it. I'm not exactly sure. It's kind of hard to figure out where it comes from, but it's grown a lot. And so that makes us feel like we're on the right track for our mission, in terms of educating the market. Man, that's kind of a lot of people in this space. 190,000 people is like, it's a lot of people in this private market space. So I think we have room to grow. I think there's people that still don't know about Notice. I think there's people that aren't using it or haven't seen it yet. But for us, we just want to keep building better tools and making more information available as we can kind of unlock it.
Did you say 190,000?
Yeah.
That is a lot. That's
yeah.
Congratulations. It's a big number.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's a lot, and they don't all sign up and they don't all like contribute data and stuff. Some of them just some of them just check the pricing and that's all they need, but it's a start for us. And I think we'll continue to build analytics and tools and stuff that people need to make better decisions with in a lot of cases, especially with employees, it's 99.9% of their net worth, is in one asset. And it's really important. And there's a lot of acid reflux associated with not knowing, what that asset might be worth, especially in an environment like this where interest rates are up and there's down rounds and restructurings and stuff happening. I mean, you just have no idea what's going on. And like plenty of examples of companies where employees have missed liquidity windows that I think they wish that they did not miss, like Stripe when it was 200 billion, before it was 65 billion, like that would have been nice. And so there's just situations like that where I think it's really important. And also on the other side of it too, is situations where there's tons of employees. We think there's like 40, a rough estimate, okay, of the companies that we look at, there's like 40,000 employees that are working at startups that are currently where common shares are worth nothing. And they don't know it. And so, the flip side is also true. Like, hey, you should know that your equity is probably not worth anything and you probably should not exercise your options when you leave.
Right.
It's really hard to understand cap tables and stuff like that. If you're an employee, you just don't have access to that information. And it's not really worth learning all about it because it's kind of complicated. And so we really try to make those warning signs very visible to people and make it easy for them to know what they should probably do.
Yeah, you have a very excellent niche that you've exploited because, as you know, private markets are dark and you don't have information like public markets. But it doesn't mean that, like, even these expensive data services, like in my case, for example, we're always trying to figure out what's the valuation versus the share price. And even if you have PitchBook or all these expensive data services, it doesn't mean that they have it. And so just to collect one data point, I might have to make several phone calls. And then the guy that has this information, he can't give it because he can't release it because he has an NDA and it becomes ridiculous. So that's, for me, that's the most valuable thing is charts, even if they're not like 100% accurate. Sure. Like it's 100 times better than nothing. And there's really, for a lot of these companies, it's just, and it's a fair point. A lot of buyers will say, well, do I get information? And when I tell them no, it's like, if you're investing $1 million into a company, you should have access to financials. You should have lots of information. I mean, if in a primary financing round, companies have detailed, granular information, right? So the secondary market is a bit, it's tricky in that regard, but most of the buyers are super sophisticated and they have plenty of capital and they have their own tools. But that's a great a gap that you fill with Notice in the market that with data, because it's a dark market and you're collecting it. So you do a great job at it.
Thanks. It's our mission. We live and breathe this stuff. It's very mundane and very boring, most of it, but when you can pull it all together, you can create something pretty impactful, we think. Yeah.
And I wanted to also talk about a little bit your comment that you said when you were speaking at, was it TechCrunch, when you mentioned the Eye of Sauron, because I have these calls. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You said that it's about the Stripe employees. I had a couple of Stripe employees 2.5 years ago, or whenever the price was 80, and they had an offer at 75. It was $50 million of total volume. And I remember arguing with them, and one of them was French, and he was like very aggressive, and he's like, our company is going to be 10 times more valuable, and yelling at me. And I mean, I made the argument, you have an opportunity, you should take it. But I have those kind of, employees are always biased, which is a good thing because they work there and they want their company to grow. But on the other hand, the market is rough and you never know what's going to happen in the future. So that's definitely a good service that having data and information, you can see now, now maybe it's kind of knock some sense into them that, maybe next time that they'll take it.
It's just hard, because I think with employees too, yeah. I mean, when I was brokering years ago, I had employees that I work with. And, it's just hard because you'll hear a rumor like, oh, I heard so and so told me that someone's, so and so sold at 93 or something, and then it's just like this rumor that's out there, and then everyone wants that, and maybe they did sell at 93 to a dentist in Missouri for like $85,000, maybe, but it wasn't a sophisticated investor, and it was just one deal. It's kind of a one-off, and so being able to look at something and say, well, here's like trading activity from 90 brokers and thousands of users, like this is all aggregated. I don't see a 93 here, or I do, and it was really small, or whatever. Just I think just giving employees comfort to say, the price I'm getting is good enough, right? Maybe it isn't the very best price. Maybe they could have gotten a little bit more money, but in illiquid markets where buyers can come and go, you mentioned the ISR on, which was something I commented, is just like, the liquidity, the buyers just have a company in their sights and they desperately want it this month. And then next month, they're over here looking at something else. And if you miss that window, you could wait years or maybe never have a chance to get liquidity. And it's not to try and scare people like, oh, the boogeyman, you better sell for nothing, because, that's not what I'm saying. It's just that, just realize, like, especially if you've been there for a long time and your options are at a penny, like you're marked up so much, it doesn't make a huge difference. It's not going to materially change your life, take a slightly lower price. But if you don't get any liquidity at all, it could. And so you're absolutely right. Like it's just a psychological game of people work really hard. They want to get the most that they can for their hard work. And if they don't have good information to go on and they're using rumor or whatever, then sometimes you can kind of be led astray. I had a similar situation when WeWork was, rumored to be going public, and there were some guys, and it was like, oh, I think I got a price, it was very close. They wanted, like, I can't remember what it was, like $50 a share or something like that. I got them like 49 or something, or 48.50, and they're like, no. And it's a $20 million sale. And, then obviously we know what happened, and now it's nothing. So it's just like, that's a scary situation. But like, liquidity, when you're in a company, it's a rocket ship. You think it's never going to end. You're like, we're going to be the most coveted company forever. And you might be. If you're a SpaceX, congratulations. You're literally working on rocket ships. You are a rocket ship. Everyone always wants to buy your stock, and good for you. But outside of that, it comes and goes. So yeah.
Are you ever going to, or have you done a Series A? Or are you going to be one of the companies on your list?
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's unclear yet how big the opportunity here is for us. Like, I think if we uncover with greater certainty that there's a venture scale outcome here, then, and that we need to like raise money to rapidly expand into that opportunity, then we'll do that. It took a little bit of money early on. I put some cash in and friends and family kind of stuff. And so we've used that to kind of get the product jump started. But, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely not opposed to it, but, I'm also sensitive to the fact that, like, there's just, I want to validate. I just want to validate a little bit more, I think, before we go on that path.
Yeah.
We are fortunate enough to be selling premium data products to investors, and they all want to, not all, some of them want to invest in us, which is great.
Yeah.
And it's flattering. And I think that there's a very strong likelihood that we will take more investment, later this year. But we just have some pretty big milestones that are, hopefully we'll be hitting them very soon. And I think that will give us more clarity about, what we should be doing.
Where can people go to learn more and participate in Notice?
Yeah. So you can go to notice.co and sign up for free. You can claim a company, get free real-time pricing. You can buy our down market and mid-market plans if you really want to, or you can message brokers who can help you figure out what your options might look like, including you. You are on the site, so they can find and message you as well.
Do you have something for like an institutional service for like funds and GPs and that provide really granular data?
Yeah, we do. We have a pro plan for professional investors. So it's probably the version that you have when you use Notice. So we've got a free plan. We have an essentials plan that just gives you the real-time pricing, just the evaluated price. So SpaceX is this, here's the chart. And then we have the Pro plan, which includes all the financing information, capital structure, documents, mutual fund marks, 409As, all the trade details for recent trades, open bids and offer pricing, and like exit value analysis tools and all the stuff, that you may need. Never build a waterfall again is kind of one of our slogans. When we talk to people, it's like, here's an interactive waterfall. You never have to build one again. You can quickly look at different scenarios without having to build it. Anyway, so yeah, we have a tool for those folks. And then we have an enterprise tool. You can take the data via API and do stuff with it if you need to in your own business.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate the time, and maybe we could circle back in like a year and see where you're at. And
sure.
It's cool to compare the before and after, and it's such a fast moving market.
Sure.
And you've done a great job, and we're all grateful for Notice. It's a unique service. Thanks,
man. We appreciate your support, and thanks for having me on. You're a key contributor to the site, and I really hope that we help drive more business to you and your team, because you guys do great work. So I appreciate the time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers. See ya.